And I'm here with my buddy, Creating Goat, Heather Quick.
Hey.
Over the next 5 weeks, today is Tuesday, 19th of November, 2024. Over the next 5 weeks, we're going to be sharing the best insights and distinctions from our work, We Are Creating, that are going to help you to create the best year ever, the best year of your life. I know
Heck
that
yeah.
sounds grandiose. I know that sounds like over the top. But I promise, if you watch all these videos and you apply it, you're going to literally create the best year ever. And you're going to look back and be like, holy shit, that did sound insane, but that guy was actually telling the truth. And for the people that just like watch the videos and don't do it, next year is not going to be any better. But for those who actually do it, it will be. We went through all of the 5 things we're going to be sharing for the next 5 weeks. And we're like, legit, actually just this one, just this. If you do this every day for the next year, best year ever. So stay tuned today. Tuesdays and Fridays we're doing
Tuesdays and Fridays, yeah.
Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 a.m. in Hawaii. That's 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's noon Eastern time. That is 5 p.m. in the UK. I will be live here sharing this information with you, with Heather.
I have to tell you, I don't know if those are the right times. Let me look.
I'm pretty good at translating that stuff. Yeah, it's the right time.
Okay. Well,
is it wrong?
So in the email, here we go. In the email, it says 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern, 7 London. That's the official time.
Check down below to find out what time the lives will be in the weeks ahead. But anyway, here we are. And let's dive into the first distinction and insight that we'll be talking about today. And again, at the end of the week, sometime on Friday. And it's just a perspective that you take, but I am, when I say this, you might be like, oh, I kind of heard that before, but I mean it in such a radical way that it, like, when you really are confronted by how literally I take this and how radically I take this, you might think I'm nuts. And a little bit of it does look and sound nuts. But the depth to it, where it's nuts, is actually where the power is. So if you can hang with the conversation here today and again on Friday, you're going to realize that, like, going into the territory of nutsness is actually where the power is. Like, being radical with it is where the power is. So here's the idea. It's simply this: you create everything. Everything that you're experiencing, it's being created by you. Everything that you have in your life, all the results, all your circumstances are created by you. If it's raining outside, you created that. And now you're like, don't switch off. Hold on. Don't switch off. I am not some magical thinker that lives in some world of delusion that's completely detached from reality. My feet are nailed to the ground. I have all the things that I wanted in my life materially. I have a beautiful life, and it's all been generated largely through this one idea. But it's not like I'm just sitting there and meditating, and that's the only thing, and then the stuff just shows up in my life. I'm very action oriented. I believe that all results come from actions that we take in the world. But I also believe that those actions that we take unfold from our state of being, how we are seeing the world, the emotions we have, the meaning we're making, right? Actions that we take and the quality of those actions, their efficacy, unfold from that way of being. And here's the hook: our way of being, how we're experiencing reality, are literally the expression of our attitude and our perspectives. And this is where the idea that you create everything comes in. When you take the perspective that everything is being created by you, you generate agency and power over the world around you. Okay. I'm not saying it's the absolute truth. I'm saying it's a perspective that if you choose to take it in a radical way, you get a depth and level of power to create everything in your life in a way that most people never touch or come close to. So actually, I'm curious, Heather, how has this idea radically affected you in your life when you first saw it? And here's actually a question I've never asked you before. Had you kind of heard of this concept before, but not really gotten it to the radical depth? I'm kind of leading you a bit with this question, but I think the answer is yes.
Absolutely. It's super important to get that we can have the understanding, like you said a couple minutes ago. You can have the understanding, have heard it before, be like, yeah, I get that I create my reality. It's a way different experience to apply it to every situation in your life. And I call it, when I started working with you and applying it to my life, I called it being on a roller coaster. I was like, on the roller coaster of, how did I create this? How am I creating this? And it forced me, or it invited me into, it gave me the opportunity to be in relationship with myself deeper and in a more useful way than I ever had in my whole life. I'm still becoming more fluent at it, more adept at it, right? The more real I can really look at, how did I create my partner's behavior? How did I create my kids' behavior? Oh my gosh, that's like the one that still gets me. But asking that question has allowed me not just to get more real about my life and how it's created and the power that I have, but that was the path actually to creating more possibilities of what I could create. Because once I see that I'm creating everything and like having access to the minutia of that, and like it was a roller coaster because I was not believing it that I'm creating this, and then seeing that I'm creating this over and over and over and over and over. And I guess the hills got like smaller because I'd be less shocked or less like, no way, that's impossible. And then, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I created all of this. And now it's like, you know.
Let's go into some examples, right? Actually, as you're talking, because I'm like thinking like that would probably give people a sense of like, what do you mean by a radical? And also like in a way that like maybe something where like, can you think of a thing that you didn't really think that it was you that was creating it? But then once you looked at it through this way long enough, you realized that you were, and suddenly it was like, wow. And then you got like more agency and power.
The number one is my partner's behavior, his regard of me, how he speaks to me. Right. I'm married to
that is such a like that's never a place that people think that they're creating it. Like,
oh so my goodness.
This is what we mean, right? Like this is radical to say like my partner's behavior and their thinking, I'm creating that.
Their literal thinking.
Like what they think about me and their behavior. It's not just I'm not just creating my perspective of it. I'm creating the actual behavior that they have.
Yeah. No, I'm doing a dance every single day. I'm taking steps. I'm generating a culture in my relationship all of the time with every action that I do. I was just sick for a week. And on one side of it, it was so beautiful because he took beautiful care of me. And on the other side, I realized I hadn't acknowledged him. Today, I sent him a text of acknowledgement. Do you know what I mean? I hadn't like spoken that he's the best husband in a week. I was just in my own, right? When we're sick, we're like, I just want to breathe. Like, and so, you know, I had a client text me this morning who's just starting to text acknowledgments to her husband. And all of a sudden her husband is acknowledging her back and creates a new culture in the relationship.
Yeah. Right? The simplest example that I use to just trying to interject for a second to make this like more obvious. It's like, you know, if you're in an intimate relationship and you guys are like eating healthy and then your partner starts eating crap, like you pretty much end up start eating crap too. Because the reality is that like especially in an intimate relationship, you're like two bodies with one mind. Like your behavior and your thinking is so much influencing each other. In fact, there's a book by called Connected by James Fowler and Nicholas Christakis, these MIT guys that did research on networks. And they discovered that there's a thing called 3 degrees of influence. They also proved the 6 degrees of separation, but up to 3 degrees of influence. So a person that like your friend's sister's cousin that you've never even heard of, their behavior is measurably impacting you. So if they decide to start smoking, you're more likely to smoke. And vice versa. It actually bleeds through. The being who we are bleeds. And so in an intimate relationship, it's like a huge part. And so we're always creating everybody else's behavior with the way that we think and the actions that we take and the way that we feel. And what makes us really, what's radical about this, especially in the culture today, is there's such a culture of like, that person needs to change how they're being so that I can feel safe, which is in sense saying that like, who I am, what I think, what I feel, my opinion, my behavior has nothing to do with them. They're just being that way as some completely separate automaton, and they need to stop. And I have nothing to do with it. That's not my responsibility in a way. And in a way that it looks like some kind of like ownership and power, but it's actually extremely disempowering and extreme victimhood because it cuts you off from the reality of your interconnectedness. I used the term the other day and you said, ooh, I like that. It was co-conspire. We are co-conspiring in the creation of everything, right? So the fact, like to zoom out from this perspective that I'm inviting you all to take, that you create everything, the fact at the center of it is that everything is co-created, right? Like that's why our company is called We Are Creating, WAC for short. It's literally the expression of all creation is collaborative. You can't create alone. And yet we choose the perspective that I am creating everything, because if this is a dance, then the only influence I have on the dance is my leadership or my fellowship from my consciousness and my agency. So we live in the aspect of the truth that is where our power is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very radical in the sense that it says to all society and to culture, it's like if somebody is abusing me, how am I creating that?
Yeah.
How am I creating that?
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that you shouldn't also take the actions necessary to stop people from doing certain things, because one of the ways that you create something is to not stop it.
Right.
We're going to get to that in the week 4, right? But
Yes.
that's one of the powerful ways of creating something, is to not stop it, not
Yes.
stop it from happening out there, enabling.
Yes.
And so I heard an in-breath to say something. What was it?
I love how you pointed out, if somebody's has the power to influence us, we acknowledge somebody else's power to influence our beingness, our experience.
Yeah.
Take that, flip it around. I have the same power.
Right.
To influence theirs. And I can do it just like, it's very obvious someone says awful things to me all the time. I feel like this, right? Flip that power around. If I say amazing things to somebody else all the time, I have the ability to affect their being, and then that's who I live with. So yeah, so powerful. We're creating
that's
everything and everybody.
The flip it around thing is one of the ways that I've used that is, how people say you're the average of the 5 friends that you surround yourself with. People say that. Well, it's a good point, right? Because the choice that you make of who to surround yourself with creates you. But what you're doing when you say that is you're acknowledging that I am actually absorbing and emulating and expressing the people that are around me.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm going to make a choice about who I surround myself with, because that's going to create me.
Yeah.
And if you flip that around, everything cuts both ways. Like the 5 people that I surround myself with, I'm creating them.
Heck yeah.
And their behaviors and their actions. And so if I'm surrounded by assholes that are giving me a hard time, it's like, I'm creating that.
Yes.
Not just by my choice of having them in my life, but they're actually learning how to be that from me through my maybe silent judgment or an expression or behavior that I'm not ready to be aware of or to acknowledge.
Right.
It's like there's and so this can be really heavy.
Yeah.
And maybe we talk about that when we come back on Friday. But here's the invitation for you guys. Oh, wait a minute. You kind of said the how to do it, because I realized I forgot to say, how do you actually do this? You make the choice, but we'll give you the tool, right?
Yeah.
And the tool is just a simple question. How am I creating this?
Yeah.
And Heather mentioned it. She was using it, but let's just make it really clear. How do you practice this every day for the next year to give just this one alone, make the best year ever? How am I creating this is a question that you ask in 2 very specific scenarios, very general, but also specific, if that makes sense. The first is, whenever something's happening that you don't like, you just ask yourself, how am I creating this? And the ones that seem most absurd to ask that of are the ones that will be most transformative for you in your life when you hang with that question until you find an answer. Okay.
Yeah.
When it's not going the way that you want, if you can say, how am I creating this? Your husband's being a dick. How am I creating this? How am I creating this? And until you see it, and you're like, holy shit. And now it's like, you just got like the scepter of power and you can create something different. Right. Yes. There will be the thing we'll talk about maybe on Friday. It's like where this feels like, oh my God, everything's my fault. That's not this, but we'll distinguish that more on Friday. And when you get slipped up, how to like release yourself from that. So you stay in your power and not feel burdened. We'll talk about that Friday. But the other place that you want to be asking this question is when you just did something awesome, or no, let's not even say it that way. When something awesome just happened, maybe it was a result you're aiming for and you got it. Or maybe it was something that you think, well, that was random. That was amazing, but I totally wasn't even planning on it. This is another place to ask that question. How did I create that?
Yeah.
How did I create that? Because you want to see your power when things go your way and when things aren't going the way that you want, because both of those are going to add to your power and your agency to create everything.
Yes. Yes. These are the questions how that you can use to become the person that creates their best year, right?
Yeah.
No one creates it. You create it. We're creating everything. And yeah, thanks for inviting us all. I'm excited to have my best year.
Me too. I'm going to have a better year next year because of me being in service to you to get how powerful this is. Everything cuts both ways. When I share it with you, it goes into me, right? That's a theme you're going to see over and over again throughout the next 5 weeks. So thank you for being here. We'll see you on the next live. If you have any questions about what we shared or about this series in general, drop them as a comment below on whichever platform you're watching this. We will attend to that question and bring an answer as best we can to it in the next live. So love you guys. See ya. Hey, thanks for watching. If you would love more support and inspiration in creating your best year ever, then I invite you to join us over in the We Are Creating community. There you're going to find daily prompts that are going to stretch your mind to think outside the box, just like this video. And you're going to find a community of inspiring people who are also on this journey of learning how to create their best year ever. Plus, when you join this community, you're going to get access to my course called Creating the Best of Everything. In this course, I go into all the 6 major areas of your life, and I help you to expand your sense of possibility about what that area of your life can look like. Just that experience alone is going to shift your attitude towards your life, your way of being, and it's going to start producing different results right away. So that isn't just included in your membership in the community. But if that's not enough and you're like, man, I want to really get into this and I want to get more mentorship and work with you closely, then you can do that. You can look at our year-long program called Creator's Journey. In that program, we meet face-to-face live every single week in a group, and we have conversations that help you to really understand how to become a person that lives their most beautiful life. We're going to teach you the practices, the processes, and the perspectives that bring this new way of seeing and being to life in you. And it's not just that you're getting some ideas and a download. You're part of a live conversation week in and week out with me and this community of people that are highly invested in growing and becoming that type of person that creates their most beautiful life. Plus, you also get access to all the deeper courses with all the nuanced lessons about every area of your life and business and how to bring these things to life, what to actually do on a daily basis. You not only learn the practices, but you get accountability and being in this practice of creating yourself and creating your world on a regular basis, and you have support in that. And in addition, of course, you're invested in the relationships with the people who are on this journey together. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, please join us in there as well. But you've got options. So click the link that's associated with this video, maybe below, above, wherever it is, and go and read about them. You can anywhere between $10 a month and $500 a month, but do yourself a favor, get invested in the community, join us, and I look forward to supporting you in creating your best year ever for 2025. Lots of love, and I'll see you soon.